it's a struggle.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a struggle. It's called a struggle because it's a struggle. And I think what you're describing definitely is the sort of this the tiles at the fringes turning and flipping off. And I'm looking at a bit from capitalist realism here. I don't know, is this a paraphrase or a quote or whatever, but they're talking about like let me see, is it worth reading? Yeah, the so on the one hand, in our system, there's an official ideological line of corporate responsibility and social concern, but on the other hand, a really existing general knowledge this is false, and in our actual professional daily discourse, that's never really breached. And like coming into meetings again in the third sector, where we're focusing on an issue, or someone is focusing on an issue, that the focus of the meeting is on an issue, and it's being spoke about without regard for turning back any of the incidences and circumstances that have brought that issue into being. So it's just an amelioration. And I mean, they're either like some weird automatons, I say that right, or they're thinking, fucking what a load of bullshit, we're just piling on to the issue another set of issues, and we're continuously building this fucking pile of shit, instead of why the hell aren't we directing these resources to dealing with the underlying circumstances? And that's, you know, that's like Fisher's the big other, the real and his suggestion, and like this introduction to the aspect of the chat is leveled just at that aspect. But his suggestion, as well as Lachlan Moves, is for that to be acknowledged. And he's arguing that once that connect is made, once those conversations are had in those situations, and well, probably beyond the third sector, and this directly relates to where these conversations need to be had at actual levels of power that can come to bear in terms of climate change. But it's when the conversation turns to, oh, we all know this is bullshit, let's actually talk about it.
But the problem is that there are big others and capital realisms, and for different groups and different sectors in different countries in the world, these manifest themselves in very, very different ways.
But is that not the importance of acting locally?
Yeah,
and are people on the fringes not starting to have those conversations?
But they always have been on the fringes.
Okay, so actually, this is a point that Lachlan, I wanted to bring this up earlier. This is a point that Lachlan brought up in the lead up to the French Revolution. The point that you're talking about, that these things are diffuse and not really coming to bear. There was continuous, like a continual, what the fuck's the word? Continual rebellions were constantly like flaring up in towns, and it was only once a sort of only once a certain configuration of them occurred at the same time that they were able to identify one another, and they formed into a movement that was able to take down the aristocracy. And so we can either be stagist here and say that, well, we can wait for that to happen, or we can be political and say that we can sort of work.
But the scale, like, look at the USSR and its attempt to act globally, you know, and its work in South America, its work in Indonesia, and the US's and the Middle East, and the US's counter work that was done, like, you know, that was done with the resources of those political economic juggernauts. You know, when you're talking about the shifting of the aristocracy in France, like, the scale is so different. And I think that one of the issues is that the scale now is definitely global. For a lot of the issues, whether you're talking about like billionaires, tech companies, states, militaries, whatever it is. But the consciousness is still so dispersed and so fragmented that we need to not only sort of draw together like ideas and like, you know, like a cultural sense of belonging and identity and representations. We need to bring like material weight behind this, resources like power to institutions, networks, and to use that type of thing. I think when I start seeing that happening, I'll be encouraged.
What about being part of something that attempts to make that happen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, of course. But you know, like if I had an idea, you had an idea, someone I knew had an idea, that I could see that, I'd be like, holy shit, you know. Yeah. Like I'm sure Momentum feel that in the UK.
But I mean, how about like how about brokering an explicit official partnership between Momentum? Oh, are we still? We're not.
You're good.
Can you hear us?
Hear you? Yeah. Can you hear me?
I just punched the little circuit board.
Yeah, it's fine.
Can you hear?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck's sake, it's just me. We'll edit that bit out.
Yeah.
Into this. He's sabotaging the material infrastructure.
Yeah.
Fuck, what was I saying? Make an explicit partnership between Momentum Unite and Extinction Rebellion. I was going to say Extinction of Mankind, which is a band. Not the vacuous statement. That's a resource, right? Yeah. And I mean, I definitely think we're going to be focusing more on the practical.
If you can leverage the family, if you can leverage the power behind,
here comes the ideas.
People's effective, like, sense of sacrifice and sense of like they will do anything. If you can leverage the family, then I'll be interested.
But I mean, like,
the investment people have in the idea of the family.
I want to get into that, but I think we should wrap this up.
Yeah.
And I think we will get into the more of those ideas, but I don't think we will necessarily next time. I mean, I'm sure we will, but not as a focus, because that'll be the universal subject. I mean, I suppose that does explicitly talk about binding people together. Yeah. So, I mean, I suppose what I'm saying there was more the material praxis will come after that. Because I think, did I say it at the start that this will be sort of, this period will be the who, and then we'll get to who in terms of the universal subject, then we'll get to how in terms of how do we draw them together, and not like we will, but like how does that happen, and then finally what in terms of what should we import. So let's wrap that up.